These pigs are 4 months old. Most of them are of a similar size, similar shape. They're growing and growing quite fast. One of them is, really two of them, these two here in the center, are a little skinnier than some of the others. Not sure how well it shows up on camera, but these bigger, these mostly white ones are definitely larger. They're all doing well, they're all healthy. I have a feeling they're mixed bloodlines of Hampshire, Yorkshire, and a little bit of Berkshire are probably coming through. Some of the face sizes are a little bit different. The one that's here at the feeder, you can't see it very well, but it has a little bit of a shorter nose. This one through here has a little bit of a longer nose, a little longer and skinnier. And obviously they're just not exactly the same. So some of the challenges that we've had up to this point, I think a lot of things have gone really well. A lot of things are the same. Every single year they love to dig out where the water is. It will drip or they'll spill, and inevitably they will dig for where the water is. I think I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet with wood prices and put down a 4x8 sheet of plywood or something of that nature where the water is, and stop them from digging in the dirt underneath it, because otherwise I'm continually using my feet to push the dirt up and stop them from tipping the water over. They're at the point, or they're already at the point of needing the bricks underneath the waterer so that it's higher up for them to be able to drink. And by the way, one of the mitigation steps for having them dig by the waterer, because it's cool and because the water is there, is simply giving them a wallow. I'll bring over the hose and spray an area like this area recently. You can kind of tell it's a little bit darker. Just spray an area, get them wet, help them cool off, and allow them to simply relax and cool off that way. Trying to get a view here of that big white pig compared to some of the others. Oh well, they're resting. So a couple other observations. As per usual, they are digging underneath their the feeder. It really hasn't been too bad, but you can see there's a little bit of a forward slope. I'll periodically kick some dirt underneath there. With my winter pigs, which I had over there, I put down a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and I thought that would help save the feed. My experience with that was that it ended up in about 4 or 5 inches of mud. Maybe that was more due to winter, but with the summer here, the feed, obviously there's spillage, which has happened with all 6 batches of pigs that I've had. It's just the way pigs eat. They eat like pigs. Is that it mixes in with the dirt, and when it rains, it's actually less muddy because the feed will absorb a lot of that water, and so instead of it being a complete mud hole, when I'm trying to walk around in that area, it's actually more dry. So I decided to not do the board in the feed area this time. I think next time I am going to have a board by the waterer. Looking around, you can see, just as usual, they'll dig out and dig where the fence is. It's hard to get an exact view of that, but they normally have this area. Now that's caused by 2 things. 1, them digging, and then 2, me using my boot to scrape the dirt back. That way it's not easily shoved up against the electric. Obviously, if they shove it up against the electric, then it's going to make it ground out and be a lot less ideal. I'm looking at how much of an impact they've had on the area. You can again see how much green is over there. This section where it's bare, I had a pig shelter before, and so you can still see there's some lasting impact there. But there's all that thick green, which is the way this area was before. And now all that's left are little bits of sticks that they've chewed up. There's one area that I haven't pushed back from the fence yet, so I'll just use my boot, shove that on back. Love the Premier One Supplies fencing, but It's just part of the part of what comes to the territory. So you can see how much they've cleared out. In these branches, I think they're pokey and they really don't like going after them too much. That, and they'll also go after everything that they can easily reach, but then it will stop above where they can't easily get their mouths. So they'll clear out the lower stuff, but things can still live if they're a little bit taller. Something that I did not expect is how little they sleep in their shelters. I have a feeling it's more of a temperature thing, where they really are not going in the shelters very often. I had some straw in there and they knocked out the straw. One thing that's been a big irritation is that I think it's just one of them likes to poop in this area, which is really annoying. Initially, that pig was pooping in that shelter, and so I blocked it off with that pallet, and instead they just decided to poop right in front. Definitely annoying, but pigs are pigs. So all in all, they're doing real well. My lessons learned is always try to keep in mind their exit. That's probably the most important thing when designing a pig area. My trailer and truck will come on down here, and I'm going to have it connect in this area and funnel them out. They sometimes will like to hang out in this area, and I really need to be careful of not spooking them if they're in here, because otherwise they can panic and potentially run through the fence. I probably should have had a different setup where I blocked off this area. So that's definitely a lesson learned. I very purposely backed up the shelters to the fence and wanted it close for where I'll have the trailer to get them out. But the downside of these shelters and the necessary design of the shelters, I wanted to be able to have them in the shelter and then sneak up and then close a pallet in front with some T-posts so I can move the fence easily and that kind of thing. The downside of that setup is, of course, we have the space in these back corners. Instead of me having the fence go much farther out, I cut that corner, and so now this is a little bit of a choke point. At some point, I'll put a pallet in here to close off that area. I don't want to limit their space around the feeder too much because they will mill around the feeder and I don't want them to have to fight. Also, they eat everything that you put in there. And so if I put a pallet in there, obviously it's not going to be electrified, and so they will be chewing at it and pushing at it and gnawing at it. You can see that that's happened with this pallet. It's been there for a while and they'll start to chew at it. Now, this is an older pallet, so it's not as strong as a fresh one, but those are, again, lessons learned. All in all, they're doing really well. They're growing, they're healthy. That's the biggest thing, and we've got them for about 2 more months. So they're 4 months old now. They're happily lazing around. I say that. 3 of them are lazing around. 3 of them are fighting over the feeder. This is one of those smaller ones. All in all, doing well. Just keeping them healthy, keeping them happy. And a couple months, they'll join us at the dinner table.